she was slapped. Right there in the middle of that boutique. In front of everyone. She had walked in after a long shift at the hospital. She found the dress she wanted. She reached for it. And the clerk hit her, open hand, across the face. Hard enough for every person in that shop to hear it. Then the clerk pointed at her and screamed thief. Security grabbed her arm. Phones came out. People were filming. People were laughing. A woman who had done nothing wrong was standing in the middle of that store. With her hand pressed to her, burning cheek, and everyone around her was treating her like a criminal. She did not scream back. She did not fight. She picked up the dress from the floor. She hung it back on the rack. She walked out, head up, back straight. But someone had already sent the video. And the man who received it, he was not the kind of man you embarrass someone he loves in front of. Welcome to Afro-Korean noir stories, where love is fierce, loyalty runs deep, and nobody hurts what belongs to a Korean mafia boss without paying the price. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button right now. We drop new stories every week, and you do not want to miss what is coming. And if you have been here before, you already know how this goes. Sit back. This one is going to stay with you. Anna Osi had not come to Seoul to be comfortable. She had come to be excellent. Back in Accra, she had trained at a district hospital, where the equipment was old, the wards were crowded, and the nurses had to be better than the circumstances they were working in. She had learned fast. She had learned under pressure. She had learned that the most dangerous thing a nurse could do in a crisis was panic. And she had made the decision, early, that she would never be that person. So when she arrived in Seoul at 28 years old, on a medical exchange program, she was already the kind of woman who walked into chaos and found the still point inside it. She found an apartment in Mapogu and made it feel like hers. She studied Korean every morning before her shift. She found Mame, a Ghanaian restaurant owner in Itaewon, who cooked like a force of nature, asked too many questions, and became the closest thing Anna had to family in this city. She worked. She saved. She built her life piece by careful piece. She was 30 years old. She had a rhythm. She had a plan. And then, one Tuesday night in November, the emergency room doors burst open, and everything changed. 3 men walked in carrying a fourth. Anna looked up from her chart and saw them before anyone else did. Not because of the blood. There was a lot of it, pressing through a makeshift cloth against the largest man's left side. But because of how the 3 standing men moved. Controlled. Precise. Like men who had learned, somewhere along the way, that panic was something they could not afford. She was already moving. Table 2, she said in Korean. Lay him flat now. The man in front stopped, just for a second. He was tall, dark coat, dark eyes, a face that was built for keeping things in. He looked at her. Something shifted. Then he nodded, and they moved. She stabilized the patient, called the attending physician. Managed the handoff. She did not write anything in the notes that would require those men to answer uncomfortable questions at a police station. She had seen this category of patient before. She understood what was and was not her business. When it was done, she stepped into the hallway, and the tall man was standing directly in front of her. Up close, he was even more composed. His coat was expensive and slightly damp from the rain outside. His eyes were paying full attention, the kind of attention that notices things and files them away. Your Korean is good, he said. I've been studying, she said. How long? 2 years. She looked at him directly. She had learned, working in this city, that flinching sent the wrong message. Your man will be fine. He needs rest and no more fights for 6 weeks. A very small curve at the corner of his mouth. He's not my friend. Your employee, then. He studied her for a moment. Then he said something she hadn't expected. You're not going to ask how it happened. My job is to treat patients, she said. Not investigate them. Whatever you are, you made sure he got help when he needed it. That's the only part of tonight that concerns me. Something changed in his face. It was subtle. The look of a man who had come prepared to manage a conversation and found he didn't need to. Kim Tae, he said. She blinked. He had introduced himself. She hadn't seen that coming. Anna, she said. Anna Ozi. He nodded. Then he reached into his coat and held out a card. Matte black. A phone number in silver. Nothing else. If your shift ends at an uncomfortable hour, there's a car service. No obligation. She looked at the card. She looked at him. I take the subway, she said. I know, the offer stands. She took it. Not because she planned to use it, but something about the way he offered it. No pressure. No performance. Made refusing feel like the wrong move. She put the card in her pocket and went back to work. She didn't think about it again for 3 weeks. And then came the worst shift of her career. A child came in near the end of that shift. She wasn't supposed to lose. But they did. And when it was over, when the room was cleaned and the paperwork was filed, and all the professional things were handled, Anna walked out of the hospital into the November rain and stood there. The subway had stopped running an hour ago. She hadn't checked. She was so tired, she could barely hold the thought in her head. She stood in the rain for a moment. Then she took the card out of her pocket. The car arrived in 4 minutes. Kim Tae was in it. He said nothing about being there. He simply opened the door from his inside, slid over to give her room, and said, "You look like you had a difficult night." She got in. She was too tired to question the unexpected thing. "How did you know it was me calling?" she asked. "I saved your number." "Why?" A pause. He was watching the rain on the window. "I wasn't sure," he said. "But I did." She turned to look at him. He didn't look back. Just watched the city move past in the dark. They didn't speak again the whole ride. But the silence was not uncomfortable. It was the silence of two people who were both too real to perform anything. When the car stopped outside her building, she turned to say thank you, and stopped. Because he was looking at her. And the expression on his face was something she hadn't seen there before, underneath the composure. Something that had shown up without permission. "I'd like to take you to dinner," he said carefully, "whenever your schedule allows." She looked at him for a long moment. "Saturday," she said. "I'm off at 6. Something moved across his face, quick and quiet and, she was almost certain, relieved. "Saturday," he said. She got out. She didn't look back. But she was smiling before she reached the door. The dinner was at a restaurant in Gangnam with no sign on the outside. A table appeared for them without a reservation. The chef came out to greet him personally. 3 men in dark suits nodded at Kim Tae as they walked through the room. Anna noted every single thing. She wasn't dazzled. She was interested, which was different. Over the first course she looked at him and said, "Tell me the truth about what you do." He set down his chopsticks. He looked at her steadily. And then, he said something she would think about for a long time afterward. "I operate in the parts of this city's economy that most people pretend don't exist. I have power. It didn't come from legal sources. Some people are loyal to me, and some are afraid of me, and sometimes both are the same person." He paused. "I'm telling you this because you have the right to know what you're sitting across from before you decide anything. I won't disrespect you by pretending to be something easier." She looked at him. Most men would have left that part out. "I'm not most men." "No," she said quietly. "You're not." She picked up her chopsticks. "Order the wine." "I haven't eaten since noon." He ordered the wine. Here is what Anna discovered over that dinner, and what she had not expected to discover. Kim Tae was funny, not in a loud way. In a dry, quiet, almost accidental way, like humor had grown in him as a pressure valve, because the rest of him was so tightly controlled. And he listened, not waiting for his turn to speak. Actually listening. The way a person listens when what you are saying is the most interesting thing happening in the room. She told him about Accra, about Auntie Comfort, the neighborhood nurse who had walked into their home when her brother was sick and handled everything with total calm, and how 9-year-old Anna had watched her and thought, "That. I want to do that." She told him about the years of training, the district hospital, the decision to come to Korea, that nobody in her family understood, and that she had never been able to fully explain, except to say that something inside her had known it was right. He told her about Busan, about a childhood where power was everything and warmth was nothing. About learning at 13 that the world ran on 2 tracks, the official one and the real one, and that the real one was where things actually got decided. He didn't dress it up. He talked about it the way A man talks about something that shaped him voyance before he had any choice in the matter. By the time the restaurant staff were doing the polite, desperate hovering of people who needed to close, they had been at the table for 3 hours. He drove her home himself. At her door, she turned and looked at him in the yellow light of the entrance. Second date, she said. My choice of restaurant. That thing moved across his face again, slow and warm and real. Yes, he said, like the word had been waiting a long time to be used. The second date was at Mame's restaurant in Idiwan. Mame came out to hug Anna, then stood in front of Kim Tae with her arms folded and looked him up and down with the focused suspicion of a woman who had known Anna since she first arrived in Seoul and had strong opinions about who was worthy of her. Korean man, Mame said. To no one in particular. He's fine, Mame, Anna said. Mam stared at him for another long moment. He better be. She went back to the kitchen. Kim Tae ate everything that came out of that kitchen. He was genuinely curious. Asked what each dish was, how it was made, where the spices came from. And when the jollof rice arrived, he took one bite. 2 seconds passed. His eyes went slightly wide. His whole expression softened in a way that had clearly not been planned. Anna pressed her hand over her mouth. Don't, she managed. Don't try to describe it. Just eat. He ate. He asked for more. Mom, watching from the kitchen doorway, gave Anna one slow nod. Fine, the nod said. Conditional approval. Granted. By the 6th week, Anna had met 2 of his men. Not on purpose. Just the reality of his world bleeding into the edges of theirs. By the 8th week, he had met her hospital colleagues at a group dinner and navigated the table with quiet precision, asking intelligent questions about medicine that he had clearly done research to prepare. Her colleague Ji Hai leaned over during dessert and whispered. He read about medicine before this dinner. Look at the questions he's asking. Anna said nothing. But she knew Ji Hai was right. He had prepared. Because it mattered to him to show up correctly for the things that mattered to her. That was the moment. Not a dramatic one. Just that small private knowing. One Sunday morning, sitting at her kitchen table while she made tea, and he read something on his phone. She glanced up and caught him watching her. His face was completely open. No control, no performance. Just a man looking at a woman with an expression so unguarded it almost hurt to see on a face that spent so much time being careful. What? She asked. Nothing, he said. Then quietly, you make things still up when you're in a room. Is that good? I didn't know what still felt like, he said before you. She set his tea in front of him and sat down and said nothing. She knew he needed that received quietly, or he'd close back up. So she just held her cup and let the morning be what it was. Her heart was doing something wonderful. 8 months in, on a Wednesday night at 11 o'clock, he said 4 words. Not a proposal, not a question, a statement. I want to marry you. She had come home from a long shift to find him already there. He had a key and food on the table because he knew she wouldn't have eaten. She was on the couch with her feet tucked up, eyes half closed. The apartment was quiet. The city hummed outside. She opened her eyes. That's not a question, she said. No, he agreed. It isn't. You're asking anyway. I'm telling you what I want, he said. The decision is yours. She looked at him. This man who had told her the truth about himself before he had said a single thing to court her. This man who had sat in a car in the rain at 2 so she wouldn't be alone on the worst night of her year. This man who read about medicine before a dinner party and ordered more jollof rice and said, you make things still when you're in a room. This man who looked like a completely different person when he was with her. Yes, she said. He went very still, like someone who had prepared for multiple outcomes and this one had still caught him. Yes, she said again. Clearly, so he'd know she meant it. He reached out and took her hand. The way he always took it, with a deliberateness that told you he was aware. Every single time, of the privilege of it. I'll make it worth it, he said quietly. I promise. She turned her hand over and held his. That was enough now, 1 year into the engagement. A Thursday evening in October. Kim Tae had been planning a dinner reservation for 3 weeks. Quietly, carefully, the way he did everything that mattered. He'd mentioned it casually on a Saturday evening. 8 o'clock. Dress as you like. And Anna had thought, with a warmth she kept private, I want to wear something beautiful. Not because she needed to. She had beautiful things. But she wanted something new. Something chosen specifically for this night. For this person, for this version of her life that she still sometimes couldn't believe was real. She had been passing the boutique for months. It was on Cheongdam-dong, the long luxury strip in Gangnam, that she walked along every evening on her route from the hospital to the subway, a shop called Maison Petra. One of those independent boutiques that existed at the very top end of the market. The window displays changed every week, always one piece, against a white background, lit like a painting. This week it was a dress. Burgundy, deep and warm, long, with a structured top and a skirt that fell in clean, confident lines. No frill, no decoration. Just the quiet power of something, made from very good fabric, for exactly one purpose. To make the woman wearing it feel like the fullest, most certain version of herself. Anna had stopped outside that window on Monday, stood for a full minute. Kept walking. She stopped again on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. She came off her shift at 5, changed out of her scrubs, and turned right instead of left. She had the money. She had the right. She wanted the dress. She walked in. Inside, Maison Petra was cool and pale and quiet. Long racks of clothes spaced like a gallery. Soft French music drifting from somewhere above. 2 other customers, a Korean woman near the shoe wall, a young couple at the back consulting over something in champagne fabric. A male assistant attending to them. Anna moved through the space naturally, found the dress, touched the hem. The fabric was everything it had promised through the glass, thick, weighted just right, the kind of material you don't question. She checked the size tag, her size. She was still holding it when someone came to stand too close. She looked up. The woman was mid-40s, stiff blonde hair, a name badge that said Petra. She held herself with the authority of someone who believed they were in charge. But her expression, as she looked at Anna, was not professional warmth. It was cold, quick. "Can I help you?" she said. "I'm looking at this dress," Anna said pleasantly. Petra looked at the dress, looked at Anna, back to the dress. "That one is quite expensive," she said. "I assumed. How much is it?" A pause that lasted one beat too long. "More than you'd be expecting." Anna kept her voice even. "The price, please." Petra named a number. It was high. It was also reasonable for this location and this quality. And it was comfortably within what Anna had. She had been working as a senior nurse in Seoul for 4 years. She was not a woman who came into boutiques to look at things she couldn't buy. "That's fine," Anna said. "I'd like to try it on." Something hardened in Petra's face. "I don't think this piece is suitable for every client," she said slowly. The music kept playing. The shop kept being quiet. "What does that mean?" Anna asked. Still pleasant, but her eyes had sharpened. Petra didn't flinch. She had been building toward something, and she was going to say it. "This shop has a specific clientele. And even if you could afford it," she let that pause sit and do its work. "I'd have concerns about whether someone like you would understand the value of a piece like this, would appreciate it properly." She leaned in slightly. "How would a black person even know what something like this is worth?" The shop went completely silent. The woman by the shoes stopped moving. The male assistant had turned around. The couple at the back had gone still. Anna stood exactly where she was. She didn't react immediately. She was a nurse. She had learned to breathe through the first impact of something before responding to it. She breathed through the heat that rose in her chest. Through the old and exhausting familiarity of being told, in the clearest possible language, that someone did not see her as a full human being. Then she reached up and took the dress off the rack. "I'll be trying this on," she said. Petra's hand shot out and grabbed her wrist. "Put that back." Her voice had gone sharp, loud. "Put it back right now. Let go of my wrist," Anna said. "I will not serve you. You people come in here, and you touch everything and you." Anna pulled her wrist free with one firm, deliberate motion. Not aggressive, but absolute. She turned toward the fitting rooms. The slap came from behind. Petra's open hand hit the left side of Anna's face with a crack that cut through the music and the quiet and the careful atmosphere of the boutique. and turned it all into something raw and ugly and real. Anna stumbled one step forward. The dress fell to the floor. Security! Petra was screaming now, all composure gone. Security! She was stealing. I saw her. She was stealing the dress. The phones came out, all at once. 12 screens rising like a wall, capturing Anna's face. Her hand pressed to her cheek, the red mark already rising, her eyes wide and completely controlled. Capturing the dress on the floor, capturing Petra still pointing and screaming, capturing the security guard running in from the back, grabbing Anna's arm. Ma'am, you need to come with me. I was not stealing anything, Anna said. Her voice was level, completely level. The dress is on the floor. I never left the store. I've done nothing wrong. She was trying to walk out. With it, Petra was still going. I stopped her before she could. This woman struck me across the face, Anna said, clearly. To the room, to the cameras, to the record. That is what happened here. The guard looked at Petra, looked at Anna, looked at the dress on the floor. He was a man hired to stop shoplifters. He was standing in the middle of something far bigger than shoplifting, and he didn't know what to do with it. I think you should just leave, he said to Anna. Uncomfortable, not cruel, just a man choosing the simplest path. That was his mistake. Not a loud one, but an irreversible one. Anna looked at him for a long moment. She looked around the room, at the phones, at the people behind them, at Petra still vibrating with something that was wearing righteousness like a costume. She bent down. She picked the dress up from the floor. She smoothed the fabric carefully with her palm and hung it back on the rack. Neatly, the way it deserved to be treated. She picked up her bag. She walked out. Head up, back straight, the left side of her face burning. She made it 3 blocks before she stopped. She leaned against a building wall, closed her eyes, and breathed, slow and deliberate, for 30 seconds. Just breathed. Let the heat in her chest settle. Let the shaking in her hands slow down. Then she opened her eyes. She took out her phone. She called Kim Tae, voicemail. He was in a meeting. She put the phone back and kept walking. Here is what she didn't know yet. She didn't know the video was already up. She didn't know it already had 40,000 views and was climbing. She didn't know that Woo Jin, Kim Tae's most trusted man, who ran a digital monitoring operation that covered everything relevant to Kim Tae's life and interests, had already found it, watched it twice, and was already walking toward a closed door. She didn't know that 37 kilometers away, a meeting was about to be interrupted in a way that had never happened before. Woo Jin knocked on the office door. Kim Tae was mid-meeting with 4 men from Incheon. A shipping arrangement that had taken 6 weeks to reach this stage. Nobody interrupted these meetings. That was known. Woo Jin knocked anyway. Excuse me, sir. Kim Tae looked at him. In 12 years they had developed a language between them that used almost no words. Woo Jin's face right now said, "This cannot wait, and it is personal. Give us a moment," Kim Tae said to the room. The Farformson from Incheon left without argument. Woo Jin crossed the room and held out his phone. Kim Tae took it. He watched the 11-second video. His face didn't change during it. This was important to understand about him. His face didn't show things in the moment. It processed. And then, after, what showed was not the emotion itself, but the decision the emotion had produced. He watched it twice. He set the phone down. 3 seconds of silence. Name of the boutique, he said. Maison Petra, Cheongdam-dong. Owner is Park Sung-ho. Who owns the building? KH Holdings, which is Hwang Gi-chul. Kim Tae was quiet for a moment. Hwang Gi-chul was not a small name. A property developer, with a large portfolio across Gangnam. Political connections. A man who sat at certain important tables. He and Kim Tae were not friends. They were not enemies. They were 2 powerful people who had maintained a professional distance that worked for both of them. And now, get me everything on that boutique, Kim Tae said. Tax records, business registration, labor complaints, permits, supplier relationships. Everything. Yes, sir. Cancel my afternoon. All of it, sir? All of it. He was already standing. Already reaching for his jacket. He called Anna as the elevator went down. She picked up on the 2nd ring. He could hear the city around her. She was outside, walking. Are you hurt? He asked. His voice was level, controlled. And Anna. who knew him better now than she had ever expected to know anyone, heard exactly what the control was working to hold in place. "I'm fine," she said. "The cheek is fine. I'm okay. Stop walking," he said. "There's a car coming to you. Black sedan. 8 minutes. Go inside and wait." "Kim Tae, please," he said, that one word, in his voice, which never asked for anything. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'm going inside." "I'm coming," he said. And he hung up. In the car, he called Hwang Gi-chul. Hwang answered on the second ring. His assistant had already flagged it. "You took Kim Tae's calls." That was just sense. Kim Tae-si. Unexpected. "You have a tenant on Cheongdam-dong," Kim Tae said. No greeting. No preamble. "Maison Petra. An employee there struck my fiancé this afternoon. On camera. The video has over 200,000 views and is still climbing." Silence on the line. "I'm telling you this as a professional courtesy," Kim Tae continued. "Because we've always been professional with each other, and I intend to stay that way. I want you to understand what I'm about to do and why." "What are you going to do?" Hwang asked, carefully. "I'm going to shut it down," Kim Tae said. "Legally. Through every available channel. The tax discrepancies, the labor complaints, the permit issues, Woo Jin will have full documentation within the hour. My attorney is filing today. The boutique will close." A long pause. "Hwang Si," Kim Tae said, quieter now. "I deal in power. I don't use it without reason, but this is not a business matter." He paused. "This is my family." The word landed the way it always did when he said it. Heavy and exact and completely without decoration. "I'll have the lease reviewed by end of day," Hwang said. "Thank you," Kim Tae said. He meant it. The courtesy was genuine. He hung up. The car was pulling into Anna's street. She heard the car before it stopped. She opened the door before Guri knocked. He stood in the hallway and looked at her face. At the shadow of the bruise forming along her left cheekbone. His eyes moved over it slowly, carefully. Like a man assessing damage he was afraid of finding. She stepped back. He came in. They sat on the couch. Neither spoke for a moment. The apartment was quiet. The city hummed outside. "You saw the video," she said. "Yes." "How many views?" "Enough," she nodded. She'd seen it herself. A colleague had sent her the link within the hour. She had watched it once. Watched herself standing there, with her hand on her cheek. The dress on the floor, Petra still pointing. She had put the phone face down and not picked it back up. "I want to tell you something," Kim Tae said. She looked at him. He was quiet for a moment, choosing each word carefully. "In my life, I've dealt with many difficult things. Violence. Betrayal. People who tried to take things from me. I've never responded to those things gently." He looked at his hands. "But watching that video, watching her hand connect with your face, something happened that I wasn't ready for." He looked up at her. It wasn't just anger. It was something older than anger. Something I don't have a word for. He held her gaze. "And then I watched what you did afterward. The way you stood there. The way you picked the dress up from the floor and hung it back like it deserved to be treated with care. Even though nobody in that room had extended you the same. The way you walked out with your back straight and your head up, and not one tear on your face." He stopped. "You were more dignified in that moment," he said, "than I have been in anything. In my whole life." Anna looked at him for a long time. "I know you see me," she said quietly. "I know." He reached out and touched her cheek, the bruised side with one hand. Lightly. Like something delicate he was relieved, was still whole. "What happened today will not be treated as a small thing," he said. "I'm dealing with it now. Properly. Legally. Nothing that will put your name in another difficult situation." "You're angry," she said. "Yes. But you're not going to be reckless." "No. You deserve better than reckless." She put her hand over his, the one resting against her cheek. "Then do what needs to be done." "But Kim Tae." She waited until his eyes were fully on hers. "I'm not broken. She hurt me. She humiliated me. I'm furious about it. But I walked out of there with my head up and nobody took that from me." He looked at her. "I know," he said. "I watched. That's what I'm angry about. That you had to." She understood exactly what he meant. They sat together in the quiet. His hand on her face. Her hand over his. The weight of the day settling around them. By 7 that evening, Woo Jin had a document ready. 41 pages. Here is the thing about businesses that operate the way Maison Petra operated. With arrogance and entitlement, and the comfortable assumption that certain people could be treated any way they pleased without consequence. They tend not to be careful. They tend to be sloppy. They tend to assume the rules are for other people. That assumption was the most expensive mistake Petra ever made. 3 unresolved labor complaints from former employees. One had gone to the Korea Labor Relations Commission, and been quietly buried under a non-disclosure agreement. 2 years of tax filings with significant gaps between declared sales and actual card terminal records. Money earned and not reported. A business registration listing the wrong category for the goods actually being sold, creating a licensing problem that had been ignored for years. And an import license for the French designer clothing that made up the majority of their stock, expired 4 months ago, never renewed. None of these things alone was a death sentence. Together, under the simultaneous attention of the National Tax Service, the Korea Consumer Agency, and the District Business Office, they were enough. Kim Tae's attorney filed that same evening. Everything documented. Everything traceable. Everything exactly as it should be. A journalist named Lee Soo-jin, who had covered the Gangnam retail beat for 2 years, and had been waiting for a clean story about labor practices in the luxury retail sector, received a carefully organized summary of Woo Jin's findings from a source she did not name and would never try to name. She verified everything independently. She was a professional. The story was always the point. The article ran the next morning at 7 a.m. By 9, Maison Petra's social media was flooded. The video, the article, comments from former customers sharing their own experiences. Women who had been made to feel unwelcome, followed around the shop, spoken to in ways that made it clear their money was not welcome. Former employees, emboldened by the scale of what was happening, talking about what it had been like to work there. By noon, 3 of the boutique's supplier contacts had reached out to management to express concerns about brand alignment. By 2 in the afternoon, a government inspector arrived with a clipboard. By 5 in the afternoon, there was a sign on the door of Maison Petra, temporarily closed for business review. It would not reopen. Petra was served with a civil summons the following week. The former employee, whose NDA had buried her original complaint, contacted her attorney when she saw the scale of the public response. The attorney reviewed the NDA. He found grounds to challenge its enforceability. He always found grounds. That was his job. The owner of Maison Petra, Park Sung-ho, called Kim Tae's attorney 3 days after the closure. He was apologetic and terrified in roughly equal measure. He wanted to understand what it would take to resolve the situation. Kim Tae's attorney told him exactly what it would take. Among other things, it would take the dress. Saturday evening. The air was cool and clear. That first real cold of the Seoul autumn, when the city looks sharper, like the season has cleaned it. Anna was in her bedroom at 6:30, dressed except for the dress. Earrings in, heels on. Bag ready. She was standing in front of the mirror looking at the space where something was supposed to be when the doorbell rang. Kim Tae wasn't due until 7. She wrapped a robe over her outfit and went to the door. He was standing in the hallway, holding a garment bag. She looked at the bag. She looked at him. Something moved in her chest. "You went back for it," she said. "The boutique is closed," he said. The owner wanted the opportunity to make certain things right. He held out the bag. "This is yours. It was always yours." She took it from him. She stood there holding it for a moment, just feeling the weight of it. Then she unzipped it. The dress was exactly as she remembered. Exactly as it had looked through the boutique glass on all those evenings when she had stopped to look. Burgundy and deep and beautifully made. The fabric rich between her fingers. The skirt falling in its clean, confident lines. "You didn't pay for this," she said. Not a question. "No," he said. "You were going to pay for it yourself. You had the money and the right and the intention. What happened in that shop was theft, not by you." He met her eyes. "It was owed to you." She looked at him for a moment. Then, "Come in. I need to get ready." He came in. He sat on the couch the way he always sat in her apartment, quietly present, entirely at ease. filling the room without taking it over. She went to the bedroom and closed the door and put on the dress. She stood in front of the mirror. The burgundy sat warmly against her skin, rich and deep and exactly right. The bodice fit like it had been made for her. The skirt moved when she moved. That fluid, easy confidence that only came from very good construction. She looked, and she was always honest with herself, remarkable. She thought about Thursday evening, about the hand on her cheek, about the 12 phone screens rising like a wall, about the guard's embarrassed redirect and the long walk out with her spine straight. She touched the fabric at her hip, adjusted one earring. She took a breath. She walked out of the bedroom. Kim Tae looked up from his phone. He looked at her for a long moment, not quickly. Not with a performance, with the full, unhurried attention he gave to everything that mattered. Like the things deserved to be seen completely before he responded to it. Then he said her name. Anna. Just that. In a voice that said, "There are no words adequate to this moment, and I'm not going to insult it by trying." She picked up her clutch. "Shall we go?" He stood. He crossed the room. He took her hand with the care he always used. The deliberate, conscious care of a man who was aware, every single time, of the privilege of it. "Yes," he said. They walked out together into the Saturday evening. The dinner was everything Kim Tae had quietly planned it to be. They talked about everything and nothing. A trip she wanted to take in the spring. A book he'd been reading that he hadn't admitted to anyone because it revealed things about him. The way the season had changed this week. Suddenly. Completely. The way it always did in Seoul, as if the city had simply decided. Autumn now. Nobody talked about the boutique. Nobody talked about the video. The evening didn't need that weight. It had already carried it. Already set it down. When they left, they walked instead of taking the car. The streets of Bukchon at that hour were quiet and lit in warm gold. She put her hand through his arm. He covered it with his, briefly, once. That was enough. The civil case settled 8 months later. Petra paid damages personally. Anna received the settlement, looked at the number, and donated every one of it to a foundation that provided legal support to migrant workers in Korea who had experienced discrimination. Domestic workers, factory workers, nurses and caregivers who had encountered the same thing she had and had not had the same resources to respond to it. She made the donation quietly. It wasn't a statement. It was just the right use of the money. Lee Soo-jin wrote 2 more investigations over the following year. Both generated significant regulatory attention. She never named her source. She was a professional. Maison Petra never reopened. Anna and Kim Tae got married the following spring. Mama made the jollof rice personally. Arrived at the venue at 5 in the morning with covered pots and the focused energy of a woman who had been asked to do one important thing and intended to do it with everything she had. She guarded those pots. Nobody touched them until she said. At the reception, Kim Tae sat at the table and Mame served him herself. She stood there while he tasted it. He looked up at her. "Mame, eat," she said. He ate 2 full servings. When he thought no one was watching, he closed his eyes for a moment in the way of a man experiencing something that language could not reach. Anna, watching from across the table, laughed so quietly, only the people right next to her heard it. Mom, from across the room, saw everything. She folded her arms. She nodded once. "Fine," the nod said. He earned it. There is a photograph from that evening. A guest with a good eye, some. Caught them in a side hallway, off the main reception room. They didn't know the photo was being taken. They're standing close together by a window. The evening light is catching them at an angle that makes everything look golden and true. He is saying something to her. She is listening with her head slightly tilted, and she is almost smiling. That particular almost smile of hers, the one that holds more than a full smile would. And he is looking at her the way he always looked at her, like she is the only thing in the room worth looking at, like he is genuinely astonished even now. That she is here. She is wearing burgundy. Not the dress from the boutique. That dress had served its purpose on a Saturday evening in October and lived in the back of the wardrobe now, taken out sometimes and remembered. This was a new dress made for this day. But the same color, chosen deliberately. Because Anna Osi understood Sistut the weight of symbols. And she did not run from them. She chose the color that someone had tried to take from her. And wore it on the best day of her life. Nobody hurt her. Nobody ever would. Not while he was breathing. If this story moved you, if you felt every moment of what Anna carried and what Kim Tae did without a single word being wasted, then this channel was made for you. Hit subscribe so you never miss a story. Drop a comment below and tell me, what was the moment that hit you hardest? Was it the slap? Was it the way she walked out? Or was it the dress? Returned in his hands at her door. I read every comment. And if you are not already following us, come find Afro-Korean noir stories wherever you listen. There are more stories coming. And they only get better from here.